भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम तत्सत्। We were studying the important verses of the 5th chapter last 2 Sundays, verses 19, 20, 21 and 22. In verse 22, we heard this teaching, Bhāhyasparsheshu asaktātmā Vindyati Atmani Yat Sukham Sat Yuktatma Sukham Akshayam Ashnute. The idea of enjoyment or bliss. Every creature is seeking for happiness or bliss, etc. Only the human being can seek this bliss at higher and higher levels. All other creatures seek only at the physical level. That's why the word used was sparsha. Bhāhyas sparsheshu asakta atma. When you are unattached to bhāhyas sparsha, external contact. Contact is the grossest sense organ in man. Eye is the most sensitive and subtle, and touch is the grossest. That's why I said last Sunday, baby needs the sense of touch for security and happiness. But when you become mature, you don't depend upon it. Nateshu ramate buddha. The Buddha, the intelligent, the wise person, doesn't depend upon that sense of touch to get him that bliss. That is the criterion of human development, from gross to subtle, subtle to still more subtle. And beyond the sensory system, you have the psychic system, very much more subtle than the sensory system. But the subtlest of all is the Atman, the divine that is within us. It is from there all the happiness, all the joys that we experience come to us. We have to go in that direction. That is progress, and that depends upon a certain discipline of the sensory energies in the human being. If he doesn't do so, he will be in trouble. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga. We studied last Sunday this verse 22. Those bhogas which are samsparshaja, bhagnam samsparsha means contact. Dukkha yonaya evate. They bring in lot of sorrow also in the tree, along with some joy. Dukkha yonaya evate. Adyantavantaha. Also they have a beginning and they have an end. They are not perpetual. Nateshu ramate buddha. The Buddha, the wise man, will not find delight in them. He will be seeking for something higher, something higher. This is all what our teachers have said. As I said last Sunday, the only clarion call to humanity given by Vedanta is march on, march on. Don't stay put at a particular level. There are higher possibilities waiting for you to unfold within yourself. That is how the sensory system, the psychic system, and beyond all this is the infinite Atman of the nature of pure consciousness. There all this subtlety, immensity, invertness is their infinite dimension. That is our true nature. This limited human being is limited only when you look at him or her from the sensory point of view. When you feel or touch or see and hear, you feel he is a very limited being. If you can penetrate this external psychophysical structure, you will find something tremendous within that person. He is infinite. He is immortal. That's why the Upanishads addressed all humanity as children of immortality. Amritasya putraha. But at the sensory level we are not Amritasya putra. All the evils in life come from the sensory level. Some joys also come from the sensory level. But a human being must be able to rise above this to something deeper, more subtle and more steady. And the highest reach is to realize the divine that is within all of us. This truth is placed before us, and we are asked to go in that direction for your own good, for the good of man, good of society. It is in such a situation only there can be peace within and peace without. All crime and delinquency come from the sensory level of life and partly from the psychic level. Along with pleasure, lot of evil also comes from that level. So we have to go a little deeper, and having gone deeper, getting the touch of the deeper dimension of reality within, then we can function at the sensory level in a masterly way, doing immense good to society. That's how the Gita places before us the shape of our life, how we shape it. We have to do it ourselves. That is the main education that one gives unto oneself, with the help of others or without the help of others also. This is the importance of verse 22. The language is so beautiful. Yehi samsparshya bhoga dukkha yonaya evate. They bring in also dukkha. They are the source of dukkha also. Adyantavanta. They come and they go. They have a beginning, they have an end. Nateshu ramate buddha. A wise man will not depend upon this. Animals cannot go beyond these sukhas. Man can go beyond that. So when you become Buddha, then you are able to understand what a tremendous joy is available within oneself as the Atman. So last Sunday I referred to Sri Ramakrishna's classification of human joys. 3. Vishaya Ananda, joy coming from sensory satisfaction, is valid, but is only very gross. Then Bhajana Ananda, something deeper, coming from the inner self, coming from bhajana, worship of God, singing in the name of the divine. All this is bhajana. That Ananda doesn't require external equipment. It doesn't cost anything. Whereas all sensory joys are costly. That's why I said in this consumer-oriented society of ours, modern civilization, money plays the biggest part. Without money, no consumption is possible. Every physical consumption means more money, more money. Since people want more and more consumption goods, so people want more and more money. Since you can't get that money in a normal way, you get it by cheating others, cheating the government, or stealing or robbing, whatever ways we do. Today that is the human situation. But the only way to get out of this situation, to redeem man from this weakness, is to tell him what tremendous possibilities are lying hidden within him and direct his attention in that direction. That's what the Gita is doing. This is what is needed in today's civilization. There is so much of consumer mania and a very efficient industry and technology plays before you plenty of goods and services, and you have to purchase them. That means money, and you can see how much evil comes out of yielding to this consumer mania, how much of wickedness comes out of a human being. I once referred to my experience in Tirupati. A car had been placed at my disposal. I was invited by the temple, Tirupati temple, for some lectures, and the driver of that car was a very fine person. One day he came to me to ask a question. He said, I am getting 1,200 rupees salary as a driver of a car. I am quite satisfied with it. I don't make any black money by cheating people or cheating the temple. But my wife is not quite happy. She says, you must bring more money. He said, but I will have to tell lies, have to cheat, then only I can get more money. That doesn't matter. Do whatever you like. We want more money. Don't you see other drivers? Their families have got TVs and other things. And they bring all this. They don't care for these moral values which you refer to. I also want like that. When she said like this, he quietly told her, they bring lot of goods, consumer goods like TV. But they also beat their wives. I don't beat you, I respect you. I don't mind beating, she said. You may beat me. I want these goods. That is the extreme form of consumer mania. But it is peace at home when there is this kind of conflict between husband and wife. But the mind is so tuned today to this consumer mania, there is no way to get out of it. I merely told him, you stand firm on this, try to educate her. It is better to have a peaceful home than a home full of gadgets, costing heavy, and doing all this in a very bad way, evil way. So what the Gita says applies to all humanity, not only here, but the whole world today. Ours is a highly consumer-oriented civilization, and all the problems arising from this civilization, you can see plenty all around you. So some way must be found to get out of it. The Gita gives you that direction. It is a study of man in depth, and then direction given to man, how to invest his energies for a higher and higher evolution of the human being. There is a direction of human evolution. That direction is fulfillment. That direction is fullness. That is what we have to achieve. We are today in fraction. We are not full. Therefore, there is a development possible for man. In modern philosophy of civilization, there is no direction at all. It is simply going round and round, same thing again and again. That is what is happening today. Therefore, there is aimlessness everywhere. And men and women without aim, without direction, they can be the source of much tension, sorrow, unfulfillment, and project the same onto society. And we are having such a society, even in our own great country, where there is so much of wisdom, so much of rational thinking available to uplift the human being. In verse 23, this subject will be presented in a remarkable verse. We shall take up this verse 23, which, as I said last Sunday, I often repeat in my mind, find out deeper and deeper meanings, so that the possibilities hidden within may slowly be unfolded. That is the importance of this verse 23, where Krishna says, Shaknoti haiva yastodham Svat sharira vimokshanat kama krodhodbhavam vegam sayukta sasukhi naraha. A remarkable verse. Shaknoti, whoever is capable. Shaknoti means that you are able to do. That is Shaknoti. Ihaiva, in this very life, in this very body, not in some heaven. Shaknoti ihaiva, sodhum, to withstand. The word is withstand. What do you withstand? Vegam, the tremendous current. You have to withstand. What kind of current? Kama krodhodbhavam vegam. The current coming from kama and krodha, sensory craving, as well as anger. These are powerful forces. It can take you off your feet. It can destroy a whole life. That's the nature of this current. Therefore, those people who can withstand this tremendous current of kama and krodha, here, in this very life, in this very body, Shaknoti Jayvaya Sodham Prak Sharira Vimokshana. Before the body falls away, after death nothing can be done. Only before death we can achieve this. Prak means before. Sharira Vimokshana means liberation from the body. What is that current? Kama Krodhodbhavam Vedam. The tremendous energy of Kama and Krodha flowing like a current, and it is shaking you and making you fall down, and you are carried away. You are absolutely helpless. That state is very pitiable for a human being. That should not be. The Gita asks human beings to realize their own inner possibilities and learn to be free, learn to withstand all these various currents within you. What is the achievement thereby? Sayukta. He is a yogi. Sasukhi naraha. He is a happy human being. If happiness is to be sought after, we have to achieve this particular strength to withstand the currents that take us this way, that way. We become a mere slave of various forces acting within ourselves. Where is freedom and where is happiness? Without tranquility within, how can you be happy? Ashantasya kutas sukham, Krishna had said in the second chapter of the Gita. Where is happiness for the mind that has not become peaceful and tranquil, which is shaken all the time like a wind blowing across a forest of trees, and trees are falling down here, there. That kind of human life, how poor it is. We refer to the well-rooted tree. Big winds blow, but it can stand because it's well-rooted. If it is rooted in the surface, quickly it falls down. So there is such a thing as getting rooted in the truth that is hidden within us. That life is steady. That life is strong. You can see a person absolutely calm and steady even in difficult circumstances. Where from does he get that energy? From a deeper level, from his own true nature. And so in this shloka, Krishna tells us, Shaknoti ihaivaya sodham prak sharira vimokshana. That wonderful expression. Much of religion is considered to be post-mortem achievement. After death you will get something, a ticket to heaven. Pay 5 rupees to a priest, you get a ticket to heaven. People wait till death to get that ticket. Then they say, yes, we are satisfied, dying quite okay. Live a wretched life and then a 5 rupee ticket to go to heaven. That kind of religion has no place in the Gita. Ihaiva, ihaiva. And I am young, I have got plenty of animal energy within me. I am not subject to this energy. I know how to control it, discipline it, channel it in the right direction. That is called a fulfilled life. Therefore Krishna tells here, you have the energy. When the energy is there, you must control it and discipline it. When there is no energy, there is no fun in disciplining anything. If water flows in a river, you can put a dam, create a big lake, make channels for hydel, electricity as well as agriculture. If there is no water in the river, what is the use of putting a dam? And so in old age, there is no energy. In youth, there is energy. It is then that we need this tremendous channelization of human energy. First, to serve other human beings. Second, to achieve spiritual growth and fulfillment. This is the picture of human development Gita presents to all humanity. So Shaknoti ihaivaya sodham prak sharira vimokshana. When I have that animal energy within me and when I was young, if that energy goes on shaking me here and there, making me do bad things, anti-social things, if all these things are done, then my life becomes very, very miserable. I can't achieve the highest level. But the same energy, when it is properly disciplined by myself, not by somebody else, I discipline myself. The river needs discipline by human being. River cannot discipline itself. It flows on. And when there is a flood, it destroys houses, destroys fields, destroys harvest. So much calamity it brings to humanity. So man knows how to control, river discipline, we call it, out of which you get such a wild river, so much of electricity, so much of agriculture, you get out of it. The same thing in the case of man. Here he has to do it himself or herself. Shaknoti ihayvaya sodham prak sharira vimokshanat kama krodha bhavam vegam. These two words are used, kama krodha. Actually there are 6 items. They are called the enemies of man. Shad ripu, Sanskrit, we call it, ripu means enemy. Shad means 6. 6 enemies of man. Nowhere outside, all within. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. These are the enemies which spoil human life, destroy the peace of society. First is Kama, second is Krodha, anger. Then greed, Lobha. Then Moha, delusion. Mada, arrogance, pride and arrogance. Matsarya, violence, hatred and violence. These are the 6 enemies which are lodged in every one of us. We have to handle them, make them friendly. They are all energies. Energies can be enemies or friends, the way we handle them. Just like energy flowing in the river becomes an enemy left to itself. When it is properly disciplined, it becomes a great blessing to humanity. Same case with every human child in a society. Its animal energy needs a little purification, refinement, a little discipline. Then something greater will come out of that individual. So when this is achieved, sayukta swasukhi naraha. Ask farmers living near rivers how much suffering they have when there is flood. The house up to the level plinth, water has come. All the agriculture is destroyed. So much suffering is there. Then came a government project for channelizing all this energy into agriculture and electricity. Then you find out the people there, how happy they are. Sayukta sasukhi naraha. Those people become yogi and happy. Same thing in our case also. We want to become sukhi. We want to become yukta. By this method only it can happen. If we become subject to these pressures, we are blown away by those currents. Where are we? We are lost in the crowd, as it were, lost in our life. Human literature is full of examples of men and women who have been blown away by these inner currents, by these 6 enemies lurking in every human being. What you call tragedy in literature comes from this particular source. And tragedies are beautiful to see in a drama, but terrible to experience oneself. Never forget, tragedy is not meant to be experienced. You can enjoy it in representation. You should not make your life a tragedy. And so, there is one famous dramatist and poet who has expressed his views on this question, just like the Gita has done in this chapter. That is the German poet Goethe in his book Faust, the drama Faust. Faust is a character. There is a section in that book dealing with Faust's soliloquy in the woods. He was sitting alone in the forest, and what has happened to me? He is thinking about it. That talking to oneself is called soliloquy. This is how Gita begins that passage, very famous passage. Faust's soliloquy in the woods. I now understand the broken state of man. Thou gavest bliss and brought us near and nearer to the gods, but gavest also a companion which breaks my pride and destroy my peace. Having said this, that is the devil. He is using the word devil there. God is there, devil is there. But what does the devil do in you? He says, that is a wonderful idea. He gave me bliss, which makes me nearer and nearer to the gods. He lights a fire. The devil, on the other hand, lights a fire in my heart. That fire does various things, making me like a toy in his hands. What Krishna calls Vegam, a tremendous current. He is that fire. He lights a fire in our heart by which from desire I stumble to possession, and in possession languish from desire. That is a fire that is lit in my heart by the devil. This is the German way of putting it, or the Christian way. We don't have the concept of the devil. Our own samskaras within make for these 6 enemies to function either strongly or weakly. We have to handle them. That is our own responsibility. And so he lights a wildfire which makes me to stumble from desire to possession, that consumer tendency. And in desire, in consumption, I again languish from desire. I want more, I want more, I want more. This way I become an object of pity. I have no strength, I have no peace because of this. Now that is a famous passage in a great drama with the German language. Gita is telling us these great ideas. You remember, men like Gita had read books like Shakuntalam in German and English translation in those days. He was deeply interested in their ideas. So in many of these writers you will find echoes of various works from India. Browning, Shelley, all these British poets, including Tennyson and Wordsworth, and continent you have this Gita and several others. Already ideas have started moving from east to west. So these beautiful ideas you find there, and here you have exact sentiment, that current, tremendous current. Can you withstand it? I remember this experience of the current and you are withstanding it. I had to cross a very tumultuous river, which is very, very strong current at that time because of rain a few minutes earlier. Everywhere you put the foot, it is shaken. And if you once fall down, you will be carried away once for all. I just passed through that river, that is the Himalayas, and it took about a few minutes to pass that river. Everybody said, don't try, it's so dangerous, full of stones. That time I could experience what he called a current, and you withstanding that current. It's a wonderful experience. That was here in the Himalayas, on the way to Mayavati, the Himalayas. Whereas earlier in Rangoon, I was in Burma, crossing a river, the river near Taungoo, middle of Burma. I learned about quicksand. I have heard about quicksand. First time I experienced quicksand. You put your leg goes in. Just called quicksand. You can't have any firm hold at all. But fortunately it's only this much water, so I could stand it. So I understood what is called quicksand. You can never be steady in quicksand. It yields all the time and it can be washed away. So in this way, in day-to-day life, we experience these things, but every minute we are subjected to the pressures of these emotional energies within us, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. We have to handle them. We have to do it ourselves. Nobody else can do it. If you want to be happy and fulfilled, sayukta, sasukhi naraha. When that state comes, how happy life is, how joyous is life today, how to have happy human relationships with that achievement. Now this is what we have to try and achieve by our efforts. Krishna is giving us this insight. When you are sitting quiet, think of that. Here is a tremendous burst of energy coming, of hatred. I must tackle it. I must try to soften it. I must try to transform that energy. This is how the mind works constantly. There is no holiday from this work. Training the mind is a 24-hour work for every human being, provided he or she knows that this is the true meaning of education. Similarly, greed. It comes. Left to itself, it goes on, flying like anything. But when you know how to check it, yes, I have seen people who out of greed destroy themselves. If they had stopped at a particular level, they would have been successful. But they won't stop. They are being carried away by the current. Even in ambition, for example, you can see if you stop at a particular level, you will have achieved great things. But you yield to further ambition and you lose everything. The story of Napoleon and Hitler is very important in this connection. If Napoleon had stopped at 1908 and stopped away from that Spanish war and never gone to Russia, he would have built up a united Europe, and he had great ideas also. But his ambition prodded him. If you study the whole story of Napoleon, you will find every household had to send soldiers, young people, to man his army. And so many are dying. Thousands and thousands are dying until people begin to feel the pinch. All young people are going just to satisfy his ambition. Yet they respected him. They loved him. But towards the end, the whole thing vanished. All that he built up completely got destroyed. And he had to die in St. Helena as a prisoner of the British, a very malarious island, eating his own heart every day. That was the end of Napoleon. It is so tragic when you read those 6 years spent in St. Helena. People insult him, the governor insults him, so many things. Such a noble soul, such a man who was holding very high position, at whose finger movement the whole Europe marched, that man's state became like this. Where is happiness? There is no control and discipline of the energies within. In Hitler's case, you can say the same thing. He did wonderful work for Germany. But when he went beyond, he could not control his own ambition. Then he turned to Russia. And finally, he got defeated. Whatever he built up became completely destroyed. He himself wrote in his Mein Kampf, I shall never do the mistake of fighting war on two fronts. But he literally did it and suffered terribly for it. So this ambition takes away your judgment, your wisdom, and destroys you. Who destroyed you? Yourself. You didn't know when to stop. That is why we are asked to deal with these tremendous forces lodged within each of us. We have to handle them, discipline them, refine them. That is how we become men and women of high character. What a beautiful society where men do this kind of work and build up a beautiful character with love and concern for others. When they make their body and mind into a refinery of psychic energy system, a refinery. Crude oil, you put it in the refinery, you get beautiful petroleum products. So fine character products come when you subject all your experiences, all your emotions and feelings to this refining process within yourself. And what comes out is a refined product. What went in was crude. What comes out is a refined product. If hatred went in, it comes out as love. What a beautiful idea. In this way, we build up character. One's own responsibility. Nobody else can do it for you. They can help you, they can guide you, they can advise you. But the actual work you have to do yourself. Shankaracharya repeats it again and again in his Viveka Chudamani. If you are holding a burden in your head, it is too heavy, somebody can help you to remove it and give you some relief. But if you are hungry, nobody can relieve you. You must eat for yourself. The father says, I can eat on behalf of the son will not get satisfaction at all. Similarly, vastusvarupam putabodha chakshusha svenaiva vedyam natu panditena chandrasvarupam nija chakshushaiva jnatavyam anye ravagumnate kim. This is the Viveka Chudamani. The nature of truth must be realized by each person, by himself or herself. Vastusvarupam. He says, you must realize it for yourself. Just like the full moon rising in the eastern sky, you must see it for yourself to enjoy that beauty. If somebody brings you a picture of it, or he gives you a description of it, it won't be anything. But see for yourself what a beauty it is. So this kind of experience is what Vedanta stresses. Experience this higher life. It is possible for you to do so if you know the technique of it, but experience it. Don't merely talk about it, don't merely read about it. So here is that sloka 23 in chapter 5. Shaknoti ihayvayas sodham rak sharira vimokshanat kama krodhodbhavam vegam sayukta sasukhi narah. The profound meaning for men and women today. All over the world, you are having so many young people today without any inner discipline, but plenty of animal energy, and you can see what happens in various fields. How quickly rowdy elements come in the picture. A young man, fine, but in one situation becomes a rowdy. Doesn't know how to control and discipline. All footballs and other various international games are really spoiled today by a lot of youthful rowdy energy. The famous event that took place in Belgium, the British, what you call football players came and did tremendous havoc. So also in Germany, our own country, plenty of such instances are coming, and our politics has become a play of rowdyism, full of energy. We are all there. Once we get into it, we are lost. No control at all. A democracy cannot function if it is based on such people. If this energy is not diverted to higher purposes, democracy will suffer terribly. It is a warning for all of us. Everywhere you will find plenty of animal energy, but the whole thing going to waste, destroying the peace of people. That's what is happening today in society, in politics. This kind of thing should not happen. We must listen to the great teachers who loved humanity, who will giving us something which we can practice from our own level. There is nothing impossible in what they say, and what they say is quite sound and rational, dealing with a knowledge of man in depth, then placing before you this picture of a peaceful life, a fulfilled life. Sayukta sasukhi naraha. That's why Krishna puts it so beautifully. If you can withstand these currents in which thousands of lives are lost every day, how many societies are destroyed thereby, then you will achieve peace and fulfillment in this very life. When you study Roman history, when the decaying period started from the 2nd century onwards, you will find human character going down and down. The whole of the whole human system is subject to pressures of the external world. Consumerist mania is tremendous. The result is so much suffering for the whole population. Even emperors are in the hands of the military, the soldiers that are there. To please them, he has to pay special donations to them. That's how the decay started in the Roman Empire. For another 3-4 centuries it went on, just limping as it were, and finally it was abolished once for all. So the end of a civilization is always, you will find this kind of thing. Man being carried away by the strong current, emotional current from within, consisting of kama, krodha and other various feelings. This should be attended to. When you attend to it, you develop a healthy civilization, a healthy, stable society. Today we have to turn back to this kind of teaching to make India a healthy society, a healthy, progressive, democratic order. That's a challenge before us. As I often express the idea, we have plenty of maladies, but we are fortunate, we have also remedies to remove the maladies. Apply the remedy, malady goes. That is the situation with respect to our country today. After this, verse 23, we get into verse 24. That is very beautiful continuation of the same idea. Yo antasukha antararamaha tatha antarjyotirevayah sa yogi brahmanirvanam brahmabhuto adhigacchati. That yogi achieves brahmanirvanam, complete realization of Brahman. He achieves brahmabhuto, he becomes one with Brahman. What kind of yogi? Yo antasukho, his happiness is within. He doesn't depend upon anything external for his happiness. When we are children, we entirely depend upon external factors for happiness. When we become mature and mature, that dependence becomes less and less. But in this case, it becomes absolutely free. No dependence on external factors. That's called freedom. Freedom means dependence, non-dependence on external factors. That's called freedom. We never understand this truth, but that is the truth of things. Sarvam paravasham dukkham, sarvam atmavasham sukham, iti vidya samasena sarupam sukha dukkhayoho. This is in our literature. Everything that makes you dependent on external factors is unhappiness. Everything that makes you free from such dependence, that is real happiness. That is the nature of happiness and unhappiness. Please understand this truth. Any dependence on external factors is unhappiness. We want to overcome that. But mutual dependence is perfectly allowed. There is no actual dependence there. Mutual dependence we can have. But more and more the stress is, I can do without it. I am not a slave to this or a slave to that. That is the attitude. That is how happiness is achieved by the human being. So here also, yo antasukho, antararama is what you call delight is within. His happiness is within. His delight is within. Arama is that kind of relaxation is called arama. You are perfectly relaxed within. You antasukho antararamaha. So antarjyotirevayah. And his light is also within. It doesn't depend upon any external light. He has found the light of our lights within himself. That's the Atman, which is described in the Upanishads as Jyotisham Jyotihi, the light of our lights. That is the Atman. A bit of that light I have seen, therefore I become fully satisfied. That's the language. Yo antasukho antararamaha tatha antarjyotirevayah sa yogi. That yogi achieves brahmanirvanam. He becomes one with Brahman. Brahmabhuto. In that state, he becomes one with Brahman. He is Brahman. Therefore, he realizes Brahman. One who realizes Brahman becomes Brahman according to Vedanta. Brahmavit Brahmaiva bhavati. When you know Brahman, you become Brahman. Knowledge and being are the same in the inner life of man. Being and knowing are one in the inner life of man, not the external life. When you know a table, you don't become the table. When you know you are pure, you become pure. When you know that you are illumined, you become illumined. That is your true nature. So in this sphere, knowing becomes being, not an external sphere. Knowing is something external, object. As an object, here the subject knows itself means he becomes himself. If a man is suffering from mental troubles, he goes to psychiatrist, he treats him. What happens? He becomes himself once again. It doesn't become something else. So the inner life is something remarkable. There, when you know a thing, you become that thing. When you know purity, become really pure. That's the nature of this inner life. By writing a book on purity, you don't become pure. You realize purity in yourself. then you are one with it, you are that. Tatvamasi means that in all inner experiences, all knowing tends to be being. So, Brahma Bhuto Adhigacchati, Krishna says here in this verse 24. Then, in 25th, another wonderful shloka comes. Labhante Brahma Nirvanam Rishaya Kshina Kanmashaha Chinnadvaitha Yatatmanaha Sarvabhuta Hite Rataha. Labhante Brahma Nirvanam Rishaya. Sages achieve Brahma Nirvanam, oneness with Brahman. That is the first. Labhante Brahma Nirvanam Rishaya. What kind of Rishaya? Kshina Kanmashaha, whose sins and evils have been completely eliminated from within. Then only we can realize our true nature. Chinnadvaitha, we have transcended the notion of duality, that things are separate from each other. That notion has gone away from them. They realize the basic oneness of everything in Brahman. Chinnadvaitha, yatatmanaha, highly disciplined within. Yatana means well disciplined. Hard work and discipline in the inner life. Yatatmanaha. Then outwardly sarvabhuta hite rataha. That's a wonderful idea. Interested in the happiness and welfare of all beings. What a beautiful idea. When you achieve these things within, then your whole energy flows out in a positive form to bring cheer and happiness to other people. Mahatma Gandhi, why he became Mahatma? All his energies flowed out to bring happiness and cheer to millions of other people. That is a wonderful state. And today in India, even a fraction of this state we can achieve in our people, what a blessing will come. Millions are starving, let me serve them. I am appointed by the government to look after the rural people in various forms. Let me serve them, let me make them happy. For them to do so, they must achieve a measure of the spiritual growth within themselves. If a measure of such growth comes, all our plans will become successful. Without that measure of growth, all our plans will be completely failures, as we see every day. All the money is wasted, no progress takes place. So this is not merely for sages and saints, this is for everyone, so that they can get onto the road of their own spiritual development, one step, two step, three step, etc. But some people may go far and achieve great heights. They are referred to here, Labhante Brahmanirvanam, Rishaya Kshina Kanmashaha, Chinnadvaitha, Yatatmanaha, Sarvabhuta Hite Rataha. They are always interested to work for the welfare of all people. Sarvabhuta Hite Rataha. This is the state of mind that creates high character. Gandhiji and others belong to this category. In small ways, there are thousands of people all over who have this attitude. We don't see them in the open, but they are there. They are not entirely absent in our society or any society, but it must become an educational program to put all our people on that road of human development. That is real education. Vivekananda calls it man-making, nation-building, education and religion. What a beautiful concept of education. Through their work, we will build up the life of the people, banishing poverty, ignorance, exploitation, creating justice in society. How do you do so? From your heart comes an energy that flows in a manward direction. What a beautiful, because it has already gone in a Godward direction within. Now it gets a manward direction. These are the two directions of human energy. Gita combines both of them. A Godward energy is turned towards manward direction. So you become a blessing to humanity. That is the language and this particular concept, Sarvabhuta Hite Rataha. Ever interested and working for happiness and welfare of all beings. Sarvabhuta Hite Rataha. Then next shloka is again, whatever shlokas come here, they are wonderful. Kamakrodha Vyuktanam yatinam yata chetasam abhito brahmanirvanam vartate vijitatmanam. Those who are free from kama and krodha, kama krodha ati yuktanam, he says, viyuktana. Those who have become free from kama and krodha currents, yatinam, well-disciplined people, yata chetasam, whose mind is fully under control, to such people, abhito brahmanirvanam vartate. This unity with Brahman is available to them all around them. Every minute they are in Brahman. Abhito means surrounding you. You are living in that atmosphere of oneness with Brahman. Abhito brahmanirvanam. They did not sit in meditation to get this kind of experience. 24 hours in the waking state, dealing with human beings, dealing with administration, dealing with politics, dealing with business, they are still in Brahman. Abhito brahmanirvanam vartate. Viditatmanam. They have realized the truth. Vidita means known. They have known the truth. Therefore, their life is completely transformed. That is a great statement here. Kamakrotha vimuktanam viktanam yatinam yathachayasam abhito brahmanirvanam vartate. That abhito is very important. Every minute, whether you are alone or in company, meditation or in work, you are always in that atmosphere of Brahman. Abhito brahmanirvanam vartate vijitatmanam. We have realized the infinite Atman, the one Brahman in you and me, in all of us, and therefore they are able to work for the happiness and welfare of all people. That's a great ideal before work, which Gita places before us. Work for the good of all, for the happiness of all. Buddha proclaimed that idea when he started his preaching. Bahujana hitaya, bahujana sukhaya. For the happiness of the many, for the welfare of the many, these words are uttered. That is a great emphasis in the Gita. The welfare of all, not merely one person or a small group. Sarvabhuta hite rataha is the language. Here is put like that. Abhito brahmanirvanam vartate viditatmana. Then in 2 verses Krishna speaks of meditation. A little inwardness is needed to deal with all these problems of man's inner life. So, sparshan krutva bahirbhakyan chakshuchevantare bhuvoho pranapano samau krutva nasabhyantara charinau yatendriya manobuddhir munir mokshaparayanaha vigataicha bhayakrotho yasada mukta evasa. 2 verses compressing the whole subject of meditation, which is the introduction to the next chapter, which is called Dhyana Yoga chapter, meditation chapter. So what is given in a nutshell here becomes expounded more detailed in the next chapter, 6th chapter. So what he says here, shutting out all external contacts. When you sit in meditation, the sensory system is not expected to function. We take leave of them. They are of no use to you in this inner life. Outer life they are useful. So the first thing we do, take leave of the entire sensory system. They are of no use to me there. They can't reveal this truth. They can reveal only the changeable universe around you. So sparshan kritva bahirbhakyan, keeping away all external contacts away from you. Chakshushevantare bhuvoho, when the mind is getting into concentration, there was one particular description of that state which is mentioned here, though it is not very necessary. The 2 eyeballs will be in the close to the nasal system. Just chakshushevantare bhuvoho. Between the 2 eyeballs, what you call the center of the, between the 2 end of the nose, the eyeball comes there. That's called concentrated state. It's not essential, but it is mentioned in some books. Here also it is mentioned. Chakshusheva antare bhuvoho. Generally we close the eye. That is the best state, because eye is a disturbing sense organ for meditation. That is what every psychologist will tell, that something striking the eye can disturb the mind much more than striking the skin. Therefore, closing the eye is the standard technique in meditation. Though it is mentioned here, this chakshucheva antare Bhruvoho. Between the eyebrows, the eyes are concentrated, is mentioned here. Then, pranapano samau krutva, breathing evenly, prana and apana in the system. Pranayama is a nasa abhyantara charinau. They will be only within the system, in the nose and the lungs. Just steady development of breathing, so that it makes for calmness of mind. That much is mentioned here. Then, yatendriya mano buddhi. The manas and buddhi are well regulated, that discipline. Munit moksha parayanaha. That sage, that sadhaka, that seeker, who is thoughtful, who speaks less but thinks more, is called Muni, devoted to moksha. I want to be free. I want to be free. I don't want to remain a creature. With that attitude, he is working this inner discipline of meditation. Vikata Ichha Bhaya Krodho. He has completely given up Ichha, Bhaya, Krodha. Desire, fear and anger. These three are very strong emotions. They can destroy one's life, bring unhappiness to many others. These are earlier also have referred to these three together. Ichha, Bhaya, Krodha. So this man has given up Ichha, Bhaya, Krodha. Vigata means without. They are doing without is Ichha, Bhaya and Krodha. Yes, Sada, Mukta Evasaha. Such a person is always free, is always in liberation. He has achieved the highest freedom. This is how meditation takes you into some inner development, and that gives you that wonderful freedom which mere external life cannot give. This meditation at every step will have its repercussion in our external life, our human relations, our dealing with our human problems. The higher you go, the better will be our external life, external work, external inter-human relations. So this yogi, this Muni, has given this discipline to his mind and sensory system, and therefore he is ever free. Mukta eva sada, ever free, ever free, ever free. Sada mukta eva saha. That is an ideal. We are far away from it, but we can enter on that path and go one step, two steps, three steps. Man has the capacity. It is difficult, but not impossible. So the next chapter will deal more with these problems of meditation, how difficult it is, and all that Arjuna will ask and Krishna will answer. We shall take up this subject next Sunday when we meet here from the beginning of the 6th chapter. It's a continuation between these verses and the whole of the 6th chapter. So we spend a minute in silence before we disperse. नमः शिवाय शांताय कारणत्रय हेतवे निवेदयामि चात्मा